Thank you. Thank you very much. I will.
Are we all here? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Well, welcome to the Garden Tomb, everyone. Welcome from the Philippines. My name is John, and I come from the UK. I'm going to show you what may be the place where Jesus died on the cross, and I'll explain why we think this may be the place. Then I'm going to show you a tomb, which may be the tomb where his body was. And again, I'll explain why we think that this may be the place. Then you're going to be having communion together as a group in one of our seating areas, and I'll show you just where that will be. So that's what we've got in store for you here. Welcome to the garden, and follow me, please.
The garden of Gethsemane.
Tomb.
Garden of Gethsemane.
Dili ni Gethsemane.
Money siya.
Develop na.
This is the Garden of Gethsemane.
Tom man tom.
Garden of Gethsemane.
Payag na itong masuna.
Sibog, 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 sibog. Sige na, song na. In the Garden of Gethsemane. Mga ka-rooftop, this is the we are on the Garden of Gethsemane.
Gethsemane ni.
Kevin.
Garden Gethsemane. Pero katong dito tomb to siya. Tomb. Tomb garden.
Ay 80 din, ay 80.
DI-80 diet.
Kala ka una. Oh, sibuk-sibuk dah, sibuk. Sibuk, boleh kau pada. I want to explain why we think that this may have died on the cross. We know that Jesus would have been crucified outside the city. We are outside the city here. The walls of the old city are just behind you, over there. Those walls are from the mid-1500s. But behind this gate is behind this building is Damascus Gate. And below the Damascus Gate that you walk through today is a much older gate from the time of Hadrian, just after the time of Jesus. So we think the walls were pretty much in the same sort of place in this part of the city in Jesus' time. And this would be outside the city back then. We also know that at Damascus Gate there were two main roads coming into the city back then. Damascus is up in this direction, and the road from Damascus came this way to the gate. Roughly where the road is, at the end of the little lane, you just walked up to come to the Garden Tomb. The other main road came in from Jericho. Jericho is over in this direction, and the road came this way to the gate. So, with two main roads coming together here, the Romans would have thought this is a good place to crucify people. They wanted lots of people to see what happened to you if you didn't live by Rome's rules. Also, there is a tradition about this place that it used to be a Jewish place of execution. And the way that they would have carried out executions in those times would be to throw someone off a cliff and then to stone them. We think that's what they had in mind to do to Jesus at Nazareth when they took him to the edge of the cliff there. So they had in mind to throw him off and would have stoned him afterwards. But it wasn't his time, so he just walked away from it. But here, just outside the city walls, is a very suitable cliff. And where this noise is coming to the side of you, a bus station now, used to be a quarry back then, so plenty of stones available. The charge against Jesus when he was crucified was that he was King of the Jews. And it would have amused the Romans to crucify the King of the Jews in what had been a Jewish place of execution, but which the Jews were no longer allowed to use for that, because after AD 6 the Romans kept the right of execution for themselves. But it's the sort of thing that would have appealed to the Romans, to show who was in charge. The other thing is that we know from the Bible that Jesus was crucified at a place called Golgotha. And the word Golgotha means skull.
Yeah.
We know it sometimes as Calvary. That comes from the Latin word for skull, but the connection is the same. And as people looked at this cliff face over here, I've got an old photo here of the cliff face, they saw in it what they thought looked a bit like the features of the skull. So you may be able to see what looks a little bit like eyes and the nose and the mouth. Here's the eyes, here's the nose, here's the mouth. Here's the eyes, here's the nose, here's the mouth. And with this feature here, people thought, yeah, this could be Golgotha. Actually, the feature is not nearly as clear now as it was in this old photo, because when they built the bus station, they raised the ground level, and the mouth was covered over. So that is the level of the ground level now. And then 10 years ago, this top part of the nose fell off. So that didn't help us either. But with this here, people thought, yep, this could be Golgotha, the place of the skull. Calvary, the place where Jesus died on the cross. Now the next thing we need to think about is, if this is Golgotha, where would the cross have been? Back home, I used to have the idea that it would have been on top of a hill. Back home we have lots of Easter cards which have a cross or three crosses on top of some very round, green, English-looking hills. And there aren't many of those around here, but we have this on top of a hill. But it's very unlikely that Jesus would have been crucified up there. It's much more likely I'm now close to the road, because the Romans wanted to see close up the pain the person was going through as they died on the cross. It was a horrible death, and the Romans meant for it to be a deterrent.